We have become too numb to the daily mass shootings in this country and too numb to the leaders who refuse to lead and instead offer up thoughts and prayers in response to gun deaths, hoping that we will just move on and stop bothering them. And that is usually what we can expect from Donald Trump. A post on Truth Social with no empathy behind it, just a simple statement and then a sign off of sincerely DJT. He doesn't care, but tonight he offered up something different, something worse, something that put college kids at Brown University, where two so far have lost their lives to a reckless and disgusting and deadly shooting tonight. Donald Trump put them in harm's way with what he posted. I am disturbed. It is yet again an example of why Donald Trump's insane and radical behavior puts us all in harm's way. We are going to get into it, but before we do, I want to start with an update on the ground, what we need to hear from real officials who actually care, who aren't just trying to score political points like Donald Trump is tonight. I think it's important that we hear this unfortunate but serious breaking news.
Sadly, today is a day that the city of Providence and the state of Rhode Island prayed would never come. We've heard about horrific acts of gun violence and active shooter situations in other places, but not here. But this afternoon at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, we received a call. 4:05 was when the initial call came in to Brown University of a report of an active shooter. I can confirm that there are 2 individuals who have died this afternoon, and there are another 8 in critical status, though stable, at Rhode Island Hospital. Those are the only injuries or casualties that we know at this time. But as I mentioned, and it's important to remind folks, these numbers may change. We are still in early hours, but at this time there are 2 deceased and 8 who are critical but stable at Rhode Island Hospital. Additionally, we do not have a shooter in custody at this time. There is a shelter in place in effect for the greater Brown University area. If you live on or near Brown's campus, we are encouraging you to stay home and stay inside. If you're not home at this time, we would encourage you not to return to your homes until the shelter in place has been lifted. We will make regular updates through all City of Providence official social media channels. That's where you can find out more information about the shelter in place, if it changes, when it's lifted. I want to commend the heroic work of the Providence Police Department, the Brown Police Department, Providence Fire Department, and the many agencies who provided mutual aid today. Brown Police responded first and then were quickly assisted by Providence Police, who fearlessly and courageously entered and worked through the building, and we'll hear from them in a minute. Providence Fire responded quickly as well and transported several of the victims. The fire department was assisted with mutual aid from across the state of Rhode Island.
It is devastating, and it is devastating that families who before this holiday season will lose a loved one will have nothing to hear from our Congress or our president other than, we'll be there for you. For about a moment on Twitter, we'll offer up condolences that don't really come with any empathy or action. And then please stop asking us. Please don't harass us. Let Republicans send out their Christmas cards filled with AR-15s. And don't say a word. That's what they want. That's what they want, and that's what they'll do. But again, like I said, tonight Donald Trump decided to do something different. Something that before he even really got the chance was already called out by an official on the ground, telling people to not act in the way that the president just did with his post.
We are asking everyone to shelter in place, and so we would hope that everyone would stay indoors until they hear otherwise from official City of Providence channels. In this day and age, we know there will be misinformation available online, and so please, when it comes to official updates with regard to the shelter in place and other updates, go to the City of Providence's Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, any of our social media channels. It is clearly marked as the official City of Providence page so that you know you're getting the accurate and official update.
People lost their lives tonight. People are currently in the trauma unit, the hospital in Providence. Donald Trump's first response, his first thought, was how could he make it about himself? Going to Truth Social, not offering up any fake thoughts and prayers, but trying to be the hero who won the day. It's the same thing Kash Patel does. But what did Donald Trump do with the announcement that he made, hoping to get a bunch of likes and retweets and attention, and all his cult-like followers praising him, saying that it was his good job? Well, he put more people in harm's way. Donald Trump first wrote on Truth Social, "I have been briefed on the shooting that took place at Brown University in Rhode Island. The FBI is on the scene. The suspect is in custody." Donald Trump then followed that up, writing, "The Brown University police reversed their previous statement. The suspect is not in custody." Donald Trump, the President of the United States, was posting recklessly, announcing, hoping to get some likes and some retweets and some praise and some "good job, Donald," that an active shooter who had already taken 2 lives, injured what I believe to be a dozen at this point, he announced that he was apprehended, that shooter was apprehended. Donald Trump didn't know any better. Donald Trump didn't really care. Again, Donald Trump wanted the engagement and he wanted the attention. He wanted the attention rather than making sure that authorities on the ground had actually apprehended a suspect and that kids, college students sheltering in place could actually feel safe and be safe. Donald Trump, much like everyone in his administration does, jumped at the opportunity for attention. That is what these people are dead set on. They are desperate for attention. When you assemble a Fox News cabinet, a Fox News presidency, a Fox News administration, you get Fox News results, and you get Fox News action. There's no substance. There's no real care for who's impacted, who's marginalized, who's hurt. It's all about the clicks and the ratings and the anger and the vitriol and praise for Donald Trump. It's ultimately what it comes down to. Praise for Donald Trump. That's what he was after. He wasn't looking to make sure that those kids were safe. If he was, maybe he'd move on some common sense gun reform regulation. Hasn't done that. Opposed it. And every single Republican member of Congress who wears those little AR-15 pins, fuck you. Your disregard for life. Sending out Christmas cards, kids holding guns. You want to talk about indoctrination, maybe we can look there. We can start there. But no, Donald Trump was after attention tonight. Because after flipping a coin at the Army-Navy game that couldn't flip because he's too weak and pathetic, Donald Trump thought that he'd look like the big man some other way. And that was taking to Truth Social and putting kids scared on their college campus in harm's way. And everyone in Providence in harm's way. And Donald Trump did not care because mommy and daddy never gave him enough hugs, never told him he was good enough. And so tonight, college kids had their lives risked by the President of the United States, the misinformation machine that he is, taking to Truth Social. Because above all else, he's got to get the likes. Now, I have a lot more to say on the shooting, and again, how I started this video, just how numb we are. But I thought it would be better starting to hear from Representative Seth Magaziner, who represents Rhode Island in Congress first, and what he had to say about the incredibly deeply saddening events of tonight.
Absolutely. Listen, we don't just need well wishes and thoughts and prayers, though of course thoughts and prayers are welcome right now. We need action. I remember a time when this was not normal, when mass shootings on campuses were not an almost daily occurrence, in our country. This is a result of policy. And so, the most immediate thing is that people in Providence need to shelter and stay safe. But absolutely, Congress needs to act. We need to do more to prevent gun violence so that this doesn't happen on another campus on another day.
Are lawmakers already in conversation with each other tonight? Have you spoken to other members of Congress?
Yeah, a number of them have reached out, texted. Unfortunately, there are a lot of other communities around the country where this has happened, and there's a playbook for this. Unfortunately, I've had other members call me already tonight and say, "Hey, the same thing happened in my district, a year or two ago, and here's my advice, and here's what I think you should do." And just the fact that this has become so normal in our country that there is like a playbook for what mayors, governors, members of Congress are supposed to do to handle a situation like this is just so depressing. And again, it speaks to the fact that we just need to find a way to break through the gridlock. I was hopeful, a couple of years ago, Congress finally passed some gun safety legislation under the Biden administration to strengthen red flag laws and that sort of thing. That was a hopeful moment. We need more of that. We need more collaboration, coordination, compromise if that's what it takes to just get something done.
We are numb to this, I think, and that's a tough thing to say in a moment in which we all feel it so deeply. And I think y'all know my friend Cam Caskey, who himself is a survivor of gun violence, and he always talks to me about how a shooting like this happens, and people reach out to him to see if he's okay. And I don't want to take the words out of his mouth and talk about his story necessarily, but he always tells me about how kind of weird that feels to him. Not that the reaching out isn't something that he understands and he sees and he appreciates, but that his friends or anyone around him feels that he is disproportionately affected by this. Like it isn't something that in some way or another has touched all of our lives. And maybe that there is a guilt that hangs over all of us. Sure, you and I have worked tirelessly in every way we can to fight, to elect, to support, and to call out the people who, of course, don't support making common sense measures the law that would save lives every day. We've called those people out. We have elected those who fight for that common sense legislation. We are trying to do our part. Sure, it can be never enough, but we understand that. But there is a guilt that does hang over a broken society like ours that sees this happen all the time and hasn't been able to change it. And so what Cam has expressed to me is he kind of sees that in everyone's reaction. And it is deeply disappointing. It is deeply disappointing that we are a country that has to decide if it is a mass shooting or a shooting because we see so many people die from gun violence a day, that it has to hit a certain number at a certain time in a certain place for it to reach a national audience, that the gun deaths that happen all over the country every day don't amount to enough of a crisis to get our Congress to act, and that we just simply don't care. And that in a Trump presidency in which lawlessness and now murder are excused, they just kind of keep it pushing. And they don't worry. And they pretend to when it's their friends. But if they ever cared about keeping people safe from gun violence and political violence as they espouse, they would do something. And they simply haven't. And it's because we've all become numb. And we really have. That this is our reality, that we feel like this is our reality. And we can't allow it to be that way. We just can't move on, is how I feel. I feel that we can't give grace to the people who have allowed it to get this way, who have allowed us to come to this place, who have ignored loss of life, not just in America, but around the world, who will offer thoughts and prayers when kids are killed in colleges, but won't recognize a genocide in Gaza when little kids lose their lives or lose their limbs or lose their parents or their grandparents. Not that I think anyone of really any elderly age can survive in the apartheid state conditions that are endured by the Palestinian people, but that we don't think about any of this. And I know it's a lot to bear, and I know I've kind of like gone off on a tangent here, but it's tough. And the people who have ignored it and have let it happen and have encouraged it, there needs to be some accountability. I think I keep coming back to this in so much of what I think. And maybe it's because we have to talk about this on a daily basis, but we do. But I'm not going to be ready to move on from the people who allowed this to happen. And I don't think anyone else should. And it's why we do this show every day. I apologize that it took a sad tone tonight. I wish I could say something better, but I feel like that's a little tough. So I appreciate y'all watching. I'm hoping the next video is one little better, but we will continue to call these people out every single day. Keep on fighting, y'all. Don't let them silence you. Until next time, I'll see you soon.